Hello, I'm James,
Hi, I'm Jimmy,
and welcome to A Job Done Well.
the podcast that helps you improve your performance and enjoyment at work.
Hello. What are we talking about today then?
Hi, James. Today we're talking about how you can inspire people.
Oh, I know a lot about that. I'm very inspirational. We should do like a survey of people who used to work with me and see how inspirational they thought I was.
Our survey said,
Yeah, okay. Go
anyhow,
on then.
anyone who leads a team of people wants to inspire them, and being called an inspirational boss is a real badge of honor for people. It has a positive impact. If you're inspiring people, you're inspiring them to do something, achieve, perform. You're having a positive impact on people's lives.
But also the presupposes you are inspiring them to do something positive, doesn't it?
Of course. And that's all very subjective, as is what inspires people, actually. But as we've discussed, it is actually very, very hard to do and hard to do consistently.
Just as an aside, and this will date when this podcast was recorded, but did you see that thing on the news the other day about Trump presenting to the 800 top military generals in the US Army?
No?
Oh, so he presented to them, and he was just met with a complete wall of silence.
Was he?
Yeah, and apparently, if you're in the US military, the whole thing is you're supposed to be totally non-partisan.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to clap or anything for a politician.
Oh.
But I think this rather blindsided Trump, who then said, you're allowed to clap, or smile. Then he said, and if you don't like what you've heard, you're welcome to get up and walk out as well, but you will lose your job. And there you go. That is how to be an inspirational manager.
Well, let's come back to that. But we do hope that some of the experiences and tips we share will inspire you. But before we get into that, James, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Well, I've done the Nottingham Goose Fair. I've been to see, I'm showing my age now, I went to see a band. I was near tricking this game. What are they called?
Deacon Blue,
that's it. Yeah, there you go. It shows how old I'm getting. And they were really good. My wife got tickets for it, and I was quite surprised. But yeah, it took me back to the late 80s, early 90s. So I went to see that. But hot off the press news, we have been awarded, I think that's maybe a bit strong, but awarded 71st place in the manager's top 100 podcasts.
in the world, globe.
In the world, in the entire world. Now, I'm not entirely sure this isn't some sort of scam, but we made it onto the list. So if anybody's interested in seeing who else is on the top 100, I'll put a link in the show notes and have a look at it.
In other words, if you quite like this podcast and you want to find out more, even better stuff, there's 70
better ones.
Go and have a listen. Check them out.
Go and have a listen. So, yeah, we'll leave you the link.
And
yeah, that's
just
quite
on
exciting.
the Goose Fair, James, which is a very famous fair in Nottingham.
Yeah.
What is it that you have to have there? There's something you have to have in it.
Cock on the stick.
That's it. Did you have one?
Just to back away from the cock on the stick. What you should really do is dip it in some mushy peas
Nice.
for the full taste sensation. How about you?
Well, I talked a little while ago about my trip to Santorini. I had a really interesting experience. I stayed in this Radisson hotel. So it was a nice hotel, right? It was very posh in there. But had amazing food, great location.
That's management class, that is, mate. Well done, executive class.
It was definitely executive class. But the best thing, I was writing a review on it on TripAdvisor, and the number one thing I had to say about this hotel was the staff. And they were amazing. I've never stayed or experienced anything like it, where absolutely everyone was friendly, helpful. They were always bothered about you. They wanted to make sure you had a great time. And it came across as being very genuine. It wasn't like, I've got a target.
Very serious.
Yeah. My reflection was that it's relevant for this podcast. My reflection was it's because it was something cultural. Yeah, I mean, they had a culture in this organisation, but also probably on this island, because the people are really friendly and they really appreciate tourists visiting. And so culturally, that's how they are. And that delivered exceptional service. Never had anything like it in my life, consistently to a person, whether it was the pool man or the receptionist, didn't matter. They were all superb. As opposed to sometimes you experience where there's a system that drives people's behaviour, and then you get quite a lot of variation in how people behave and how people are. Just thought it was an interesting observation. So that's a TripAdvisor recommendation. the Radisson Blue in Santorini.
Very good. So go on then. How to inspire your staff. So why are we talking about this? I know that sounds a stupid question, but why are we talking about this?
Well, I think on one level, it is a stupid question, because why wouldn't you want to be inspirational? Why wouldn't you want to inspire people to perform? But when we've got into conversations about this, I guess the reason why we're covering it is actually we came to the conclusion that it's relatively rare.
It's a bit more than relatively rare, yeah. Downright unusual, I would say.
So, I mean, we're two mature gentlemen who we've had lots of people work for us, and we've worked for lots of people. What was your reflection, James, on your experiences of having an inspirational boss or being an inspirational boss?
Yeah, so let's go with the having rather than the being. So I worked for 30 odd years, 33 years, and let's just say I had a boss probably every 2 years. They change over, don't they? So I'm into 15, 16 bosses, something like that. I can only really think of one who was truly inspirational. There were 3 or 4 who were pretty good, but in terms of actually truly inspirational, only one. So it's not something you see very often at all. In terms of me as a boss, do I think I was inspirational? Probably not. I think I probably got better as time went along. But for me, I think it's not so much about creating or being inspirational as a person. It's about creating an environment where people want to come and work. So if there is such a thing as an inspirational environment, I think that's the trick. How do you create an environment where people do their best work? So that's my take on it.
Yeah, and I guess my view is very similar to yours. I don't think anyone's inspirational all the time. I just think that's an
There'd be a real pain in the ass, wouldn't they?
Well, I think it's an impossibility, and I think you wouldn't necessarily want that to be. In terms of my view of the people I've worked with, I think there are people who have been inspirational to me occasionally, but not consistently, and I think that's about the best you can hope for, is that you have moments of inspiration. And actually, to your point, was I inspirational to people? I think at times I might have been, but equally there were times when I probably pissed some people off. And I think it is different. So what you find inspirational will be different from what I find inspirational. So I think that's the other thing, why you can't be inspirational to everyone all the time. It just wouldn't possibly happen. But I think if you said that you've got inspirational, you've got uninspiring, and then I think actually you've got demotivating. And I think I worked for as many people that were demotivating as I did that were inspiring, even at moments.
No, I'd give more. Sorry, I think I work for far more demotivational people than inspirational.
So I think that's one of the key takeaways, actually. Even if you can't inspire people to greatness, surely you can avoid demotivating them, can't you?
I'd go further than that. I don't think it's one of the key takeaways. I think for me, it is actually the points. Now, my daughter is 22 and she's just started working for a major retailer. And when I talk to her, she is so excited. She's buzzing with the opportunity and the work she's doing. And I remember being like that when I was in my early 20s. So, rare, fired up and raring to go. And it's almost like over 30 years, I had people gradually just take the fire out of me, demotivate me one way or another. So I honestly think it's not about being inspirational. For me, the trick is to not demotivate people. So how can you create an environment where people's own motivation fires them along? That for me is the real trick.
So essentially, don't put out the fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think the interesting thing is, James, we're going to go through from our experience of trying to lead groups of people and being on teams. We're going to share some of the tips that we have, our top tips for this. And I think, you and I do come at it very differently. Your tips are about having a system and how the system works.
Systematic about it.
Yeah, whereas mine are more about the people, and I get on better with people than I do with systems, and you get on better with systems than you do with people.
My best friends are systems.
Yeah. That's why Gemini is now your number one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good morning, James. How are you doing?
She hasn't demotivated me yet. Yeah. Go on then. So demotivational things that organisations do. What sort of things cross your mind?
Oh gosh, well, one of the things that I definitely don't miss with being in full-time work is full-time meetings. I mean, if I could add up all the meetings I had in my career that there was no point to. I mean, I've probably wasted days, if not weeks or months of my life sat in meetings that were just a waste of time.
Oh, and the more senior I got, the worse it became. I would estimate I probably spent a third to half of my time sitting in pointless meetings.
Yeah.
And nobody enjoyed them. And, I don't poke fun at it, but the 3-hour risk and compliance meeting, oh, for the love of God, people sitting there showboating with fancy slides, but it just bore everybody to tears. How is that motivational in any way, shape or form? So, yeah, that's one thing I think we should definitely get rid of, pointless meetings. It comes back to my comment when I started with Donald Trump at the start. They did look terribly motivated.
I guess that's another point that you made is the way organisations look at risk and compliance is one of the things that a lot of people find difficult. And jokingly, when I worked in sales, we used to call the compliance department the no sales department. Now, it is really important for organisations to have structures and guide rails, but the interpretation of them, I think, can lead a lot to be desired. But in all seriousness, we have got some really good compliance people that do listen to this podcast, and we should get them on to talk to us about how you can actually manage risk and compliance in a pragmatic, sensible way that actually accelerates your business performance.
Okay, yeah, because if it's boring people to tears, don't be surprised if they don't do it. And there's a very good point, actually.
Yeah, a number of our guests are people who listen to the podcast and feel they've got something to contribute, or suggest somebody who they think they'd love to hear and get them on. So yeah, suggest a guest. Anyhow, other things that are demotivation. What else?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say it, James, but let's not lose the next half an hour of our lives.
You're going to set me off like a Catherine wheel.
Reward recognition and performance management processes.
Yeah. Things which just upset people because they feel that they've been hardly done by it rather than motivating them. It's quite clever to give somebody a pay rise and demotivate them at the same time.
Takes some doing. We touched on one recently in the podcast we did on work being a source of vitality, and that was micromanagement and control. Nobody wants somebody looking over their shoulder and controlling their behaviour and what they do they?
No. And it's quite interesting as well, because the control, I suppose, comes back to our conversation about compliance, but it's the control, appropriate control. What you control people to not do.
Yeah. And another favourite of yours, SMART goals.
Yeah. Have you ever had a SMART goal set for you that actually gave a damn about achieving?
Often not. It's a wonderfully structured, pointless exercise if it doesn't mean something to you.
Right, absolutely. I would bet you a pound to a penny that if you got somebody who hadn't got a SMART goal but wanted to do it, versus somebody who'd been through the whole SMART and all the forms and everything, didn't want to do it, who's going to achieve it more?
Yeah, I know where I'd put my money.
As well as recording this podcast, we help individuals, teams, and entire organisations achieve outstanding results.
If you'd like to find out more about how we can help you, please get in touch. Email either jimmy@ajobdonewell.com or james@ajobdonewell.com. Right then, back to the case in hand then. So, we've talked about how to demotivate people. What do you do instead then?
I guess the number one thing we both sort of agree on is our age-old favourite, which is state a clear purpose for your team. Be really clear about it, get everyone bought into it. I think without that purpose, it's very difficult to inspire people for the sake of what.
Yeah. And I'd go a wee bit further because a lot of organisations think they've got a purpose, and they think their purpose is to be the best insurance company or make the most money as an oil company or whatever the hell it is. But that purpose really ought to be about what you are doing for others, because people get great satisfaction out of serving others and feeling they're doing the job well. They don't get satisfaction out of making rich people richer. So really, when you talk about purpose, it is what is the service that you are providing to others. Yeah. So just sit back with your team and think about, well, what are we actually doing for who, and who cares a damn that we turn up?
And it's got to matter to you. I was talking to my 19-year-old daughter the other day, and amazingly, she said to me that her reason for working was that she likes to make people feel good about themselves. She works as a beauty therapist.
Yeah.
She's not talking about, my purpose is being a beauty therapist, or my purpose is doing these treatments. It is about making people feel good about themselves. And when you've got something like that, that's going to drive you onwards, isn't it?
The other thing, though, is everybody wants to be on a winning team.
Yes.
But winning at what?
Yeah. So getting a clear purpose, getting people wanting to do it, and feeling that they're being successful and making progress to that. I think that more than anything probably that we'll talk about is the number one thing that you can do to inspire people. But
Cool.
Having said that, what else have we got then, James?
Well, my next one is, and I choose my words very carefully, but once you've got that purpose, measure it. Are you achieving it or not? Because people like to know what the score is, and they like to know that they're doing good work. Now, there's a big difference between a target and a measure, and we can go around that circle in another podcast. But really, if people don't know how they are doing, it all starts to become a bit pointless. Like, there's a beautiful story about an American baseball game.
Right.
Have you ever been to see American baseball?
No, but I kind of vaguely know it.
You go to a baseball game and there's loads and loads of noise. And there was this guy at this baseball match, and it was just pretty quiet, really. Nobody was saying anything. Nobody was getting terribly excited about it. And he looked round, he couldn't understand it. After a while, he twigged, and the issue was that the scoreboard had stopped working. And because the scoreboard had stopped working, nobody knew how they were doing. And because nobody knew how they were doing, nobody was getting excited about the game. So you really do need some measures to show how you're doing, because people will get behind them. So there you go. Purpose and then good set of measures. That would be my first thing. How about you?
So, as we said, I'll go a different direction from you on this. It's not that I think that the things that you've got on your list aren't perfectly valid. I guess my first thing would be to actually understand the people you work with as people. So I think when you go to work, often you feel that you're just a number, or you just feel that if people value you for the job. Actually spending some time getting to know them as people and showing that you care about them, that you're bothered about them. So that would be one thing for me, is understand a bit more about people and their lives, and show them that you care about them.
Yeah, much as it pains me to have to agree with you, people are more important than spreadsheets, marginally. But there's the story about the First World War. You know, people in the trenches, and you're the captain in the trench, and you stand there and shout over the top boys who's following you. And they ain't going to follow you if you don't care about them. No. Let's be very honest about it. So, yeah, I'll buy that totally.
What's your next one then, James?
Well, the next one for me, I think, really is, so you've got, I'll go back to my purpose and measures things, you've got that in place, but get your team to tell you what is getting in the way, what is stopping them from achieving the thing that you want them to achieve.
Yeah.
We talked about stupid bureaucracy, but what are the rules, what are the regulations, what are the tasks, what are the things that they are doing that stop them from doing their job? Because if you can get a list of those and then start to knock them on the head, or even give the guys that were working with you the opportunity to knock them on the head themselves, they'll be bang up for it. Yeah, they'll think you're golden. So that is really, is it motivational? I think it is. People being given the opportunity to improve their work they're doing. So that would be my next thing. I find out what's getting in the way and give them the opportunity to fix those things.
My next one would be, I think there's something in it for me about self-awareness, about understanding how you show up and showing up as a human, not just as a corporate clone. You know, I've got to be strong and I've got to know all the answers. Be a bit vulnerable, be honest with people. And I think often a lot of the people that I've worked with who had the most negative impact and were most demotivation often didn't really understand the impact that they were having. Mm-hmm. And they didn't ask, didn't care. And actually, when I found when I got some of the toughest feedback for me at times, it didn't feel nice in the moment to get that, but it did help me understand the impact I was having on others. People would tell me things like I wasn't very good at listening, or I didn't understand the impact I was having on people.
Really?
Sorry? What did you say?
Really?
What?
Yeah, I like it.
I didn't think about the hierarchies. I wasn't understanding what the impact I was having. And actually, when people talk to me about the positive or negative impact I was having, sometimes the negative impacts, it was never my intention to be a certain way. So you can change how you behave, but actually it shows that you are interested. So be yourself, be human, be vulnerable, but also just understand how you're impacting people. And as you say, James, people need to at least like you. Back to your favorite subject, Donald Trump. I mean, how many people are acting out of fear versus out of love and admiration for him?
The next one for me is actually think about how you can help your staff build better skills and get better at their job. Yeah, because a lot of people look at that and think, well, I don't want to build better skills and get better at their job, because if I do that, there'll be a threat to me, or they'll go off and find another job. But actually, they want to go and find another job anyway. I mean, that's just the way of the world. So you might as well help them, because if you can do that, they will respect you for it. And if you get a reputation of being a guy who helps people move on and up on their own careers, then other people will want to come and work in your department and work for you as well.
Yeah.
So that will be the I would think about, skills. How do you help people build their own skills? So there's I think, quite an important point.
My next one would be generous with praise and thoughtful with criticism. And by that, I mean, often, in a work situation, you're always wanting the next improvement, the next result, the end of the transformation, the end of the journey. And actually, you don't often recognize people and their efforts on the journey. So be more generous. I'd certainly learned early in my career, I was not generous with praise. I was always wanting the end game. Whereas actually be far more generous with praise and thoughtful then about the criticism. Sometimes we do have to give feedback to people, but just be thoughtful about doing it in a timely fashion. Think about the impact that you're going to have on them, and don't just how some people just go through life, never giving any praise, just firing out negatives like bullets. Imagine that impact that's going to have on people. But if you are generous with praise and thoughtful with your criticism and show that it's to help people, that's much more likely to inspire them.
Yeah. And all right, so yes, and you can systematize that, right? So if you're not that type of person, for God's sake, go out and buy yourself a packet of thank you cards, have it sitting on your desk, and every Monday write out a couple of thank you cards, because there's always something that somebody has done. And a little praise goes an awful long way. That's
great tip. It's a really good habit to get into.
But then I suppose that brings us back to my overriding message, which is if you want to inspire people, it's about creating an environment where people feel inspired, and it's not all about you. They don't want an inspiring leader. What they want is an environment where they know what they're there to do. Obstacles are removed out of the way. They get thanked, and they can get on and do a good job. So I think that for me really is the point. It's all about creating that environment.
And I think that's a great point, James, which is don't just get caught up on it. It's all about you. Because actually the environment has a bigger impact on people than you will at times.
That is how we think you should go about inspiring people.
So we hope you're enjoying and getting value from listening to this podcast. If you are, please share it. Help us grow the audience. Pass it online or to friends or colleagues or on your social media. Anything will do would be a really great help.
Yeah, and whilst we'd love to have a load of 5-star reviews, any feedback whatsoever would be really helpful, because it just makes this podcast better and make it more appropriate for people. So please do get in touch and let us know what you think.
And this all helps us bring you the best quality show possible to help you improve your performance and enjoyment at work.
So I'd like to just bring one more thought to this debate. Have you come across the book Drive by Dan Pink?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, well, I just want for you to listen to, mate. You need to get this on your
James, as I told you, when I was on holiday, I actually read a real physical book.
A real physical book?
Two, in fact.
I dread to be what it was. Anyway, so Dan put his book Drive is all about what drives people, how people get their motivation. And he talks about 3 things in that. He says purpose, they need to have a purpose.
Yeah.
He talks about giving people autonomy so that they can get on and do stuff themselves. And he talks about allowing people to develop mastery, because if you have those 3 things, then you can get really motivated and you keep on going.
That's a good recommendation then. Drive by Dan Pink.
And the alternative, of course, is what most managers do, which is the old carrot and stick, which really don't work, doesn't motivate anyone. I used to work one place and they used to say, oh, it's good here. We don't have carrots and sticks. We just have a carrot-shaped stick, which is an interesting thought.
So, in summary, everyone wants to inspire people. It's a real badge of honour. But we found that it's very difficult to do consistently, and actually more people demotivate you than actually inspire you.
Really think about, am I creating that environment where people can be motivated? Are we really clear about our purpose, clear what we're trying to do? Are we really clear about measures? Are we actively removing barriers and developing people so they can do a good job? And also some of the soft, fluffy people stuff.
Because remember, what inspires different people will be different things. And James has shared with you a few of his system views on things, and I've shared some of the people things, but it is an individual thing. So hopefully you found some of this really useful for you. Inspired you even.
Inspired you. Good. I'm glad we put that to bed. I'll speak to you later.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers now.
As well as recording this podcast, we help individuals, teams, and entire organisations achieve outstanding results.
If you'd like to find out more about how we can help you, please get in touch. Email either jimmy@ajobdonewell.com or james@ajobdonewell.com.